Okay, guys, I know I'm tardy. I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Hi to all the new subscribers. We do have a winner for the Caraxes, and I'll announce it at the end. I hope they see this. I'm going to make a post about it too and share it on social media, of course. But I'm really excited because they're an awesome subscriber. But they won the metallic Caraxes Funko Pop. But yeah, we're going to talk about episodes 7 and 8 of the Mayfair Witches put together, because I feel like, not only am I tardy, but I feel like episode 7 really just focused mostly on Cyprian and Lasher stuff. And we got, big stuff happened, but we got very few things in it. I liked it. I felt like it jumped enough with character shifts that it was good. Like, we got to spend time with a totally different character for a longer period of time, which we all love Cyprian, so I liked that. We mostly got Lasher info and, well, his attachment in that episode, and then we got Tessa stuff. Now, if you've been around and checked out my other reviews on this, I really like the way they're handling the incel group, because they're not just going men bad. They're going, there's a reason why people end up in groups like this. There's a reason why people end up in cults. There's a reason why people end up in things like that, and it's because they're vulnerable, they're alone, they're jaded by some situation or something they've dealt with in life, and that's how they, and then they feel validated. For the first time ever, this guy's getting a beer and he's feeling validated, and then this group is just a hate group, and it's scary, but I really like the way they handled that. But we have Rowan pregnant. Now, okay, this is going to tie into the finale, so spoilers. Remember, I was saying that in the very beginning. I was like, I'm only halfway through this book, but in the very beginning of the show, I was like, this is some Rosemary's Baby going on. And then it was like, oh no, this is super like Rosemary's Baby by the end of this. But we have Rowan pregnant, and that was trippy, because I didn't exactly know where it was going to go yet, but I was guessing. And then we had Tessa getting nabbed, and them using Rowan's blood. That was really cool. I really liked that. I thought that was really awesome, because then I thought it was funny when she made the joke like, oh, you have too many kids, because the mom her blood couldn't exactly spot her, and then Rowan's like, trace me back to my mom's heart, and yada, yada, yada. And that's how they find out where Tessa's at. But most of that episode is back in time, and we find out, I really loved Lasher's speech of like, you want to domesticate her, and he's like, no. But then Cyprian made really great points saying like, you want to use her too. Like, you're full of it. You don't want her to become powerful because you care about her. You want her to become powerful because it helps you selfish prick. So we have some toxic traits being shown by Lasher and his relationship to these witches, and to Rowan specifically. So all that stuff's handled. All that stuff's bing, bang, boom. And then, like I said, we're spending most of the episode back in time, and we're hearing all this stuff. And then by the end of that episode, first, we have Cyprian has to figure out a way to kill himself, and they're like horrified by that back at the Talamasca. Also, his sister's still the MVP. She's awesome. And then we have Tessa's in the cage. And that, like I said, I really like the way they were handling all that. But yeah, Rowan stomping in and just obliterating people is kind of the greatest thing I've ever seen. I really love when she did that. I really love when she came stomping in. But like I said, even with the woman in that group, she tells Tessa, hey, my kid was at one of your hospitals and this and that, and then we lost our jobs, attached also to your family owning everything here. And it shows where her anger came from and how she started in this group and got into it, you know what I mean? And then we have Rowan coming in and obliterating everybody. And then I was like, oh, are they gonna tie this back and go like, okay, everybody around this woman is having aneurysms? But that wasn't the case. We have Tessa trying to call Lasher, but she can't. So then she tries to use her glamour on Keith. That's the guy we see. But even with her powers, I liked that it had to be this, because that's what we have to do. Just so people know, that's what ladies have to do. We know when it's like, you better be nice to this guy, because I think they might harm me. And so you're just like, okay, yeah, I'll be nice to get out of this. So it was heartbreaking and honestly relatable to see Tessa go through that, which is sad. We have Keith complaining about his boss and all that stuff, and then she's just, I do think part of Tessa was being genuine in that episode, but Lasher won't come for her. And even the family says that to Rowan, and they're a little, I feel like they were overly meaner than they needed to be to Rowan, but I understood it too, where I was like, no, this is a very deep bond they have that goes past like family, you know? So I understood it. Oh, we also find out all about the Talamasca being like, we don't get involved, but you're kind of getting involved and you're kind of doing stuff. And then they're like, there's a prophecy. And we find out that Cyprian's boss is kind of like, he didn't tell him the full truth, and that's what we were saying. Like, he didn't tell him the full truth. Like, everybody keeps saying how much they like him and how much they don't want him to die. And now there was this other person that used to watch one of the Mayfairs that went and disappeared, but he didn't know that until he got that vision. So it's like, why didn't he know about that? I feel like that's something you would tell your employee if they are involved in this. But then they're kind of more involved, and the witches even bring it up. They're like, we have the FBI, the CIA, this, that, even the Talamasca. So it's like, even them. So obviously, everybody's on the up and up here. But we find out about this prophecy, and that goes heavy duty into Crazy Town in the finale, which we'll get into in a second. But we find out that the Talamasca, Uncle Cortland, there's some attachment there, and then I was like, oh my god, it might be Rosemary's Baby. And that was the biggest revelation, I feel like, in this, was going like, oh wow, you guys are not doing, I don't know if you guys are totally on the up and up with what you're supposed to be doing, because they're kind of egging on this prophecy to happen, and it's kind of out there. We know that Uncle Cortland is not great, but we don't exactly know we don't exactly know where everybody stands yet until the finale, which I really liked, because that makes me geeked for a finale. But it was just enough, like, okay. And I really liked when Keith said, he brought up the movies, and then he brought up, are you going to call the corners? Because that's like totally from The Craft. And there was a couple shots throughout this series where I was like, you're paying homage to The Craft, right? But when he says call the corners, are you guys going to call the corners? That's what they're talking about doing. And when they call earth, air, fire, and water, and they're at each corner of the compass, and I liked that. But by the end of the episode, we have Tessa, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, obviously she's going to have to go, because that'll be the easiest way for Rowan to become the designee again, because I really didn't know if that whole ritual thing was going to work. But then I was like, oh no, she's going to have to go. And so when she gets taken out by Keith, and then Rowan also gets hit, but Tessa passes away, but Rowan gets straight pissed. And I really liked that. And a lot of people have been calling Rowan a bitch, and I was like, yeah, I think that's kind of the point. Like, internal misogyny is kicking in hard, and you're not, it's supposed to be her guard is all the way up. She doesn't trust nobody because of the shit she's dealt with. Because I kind of can relate to Rowan a lot. And then it's like, when she was in doctor mode, though, she was a totally different person. Watch that scene of her with her uncle. When she finds out he's sick, she lights up. She's a totally different person. She just has her guard all the way up with everybody. It's not just men, it's women, too. Like, her guard is all the way up. She is kind of a jerk, or comes off that way. But then when she's in her field, when she's in her thing, she's a totally different person. And I really liked seeing that. But now we get to see Rowan totally throw that away, and she's like, I'm done. I'm pissed. And she calls Lasher and tells him to chase Keith down, and that's how the episode ends. And I really liked how they picked right back up, because let's get into the finale. So, this is where we're going to start talking about the season finale. Very rarely do I see a show that in the last, 3 episodes, it really turns around. Interview with a Vampire was great from start to finish. I think it's the best show on TV right now. I'll stand by that statement. But it wasn't... It was a slow burn, but it was still extremely entertaining. And not that this wasn't entertaining, but it really got me in the last few episodes, especially the finale. I really liked this a lot. But it picks up right where that one left off. Rowan's shot in the shoulder. She's trying to chase after Lasher after sending him to get Keith, the creep. Ironically, Lasher burns him alive in a little hut, and Rowan watches through the eyes. Now, like I've been saying, the practical effects they use are basic and great, and they work amazing. Like the creepy eyes, they really just are unnerving, and they work. So we have creepy Keith getting burned alive. Then we have Lasher watching through his eye holes, and we have Rowan trying to keep up. Eventually, Lasher zooms back to her and is like, well, first he tells her, hey, you're shot. Let me do this. Let me handle this. So Lasher goes and handles it. And then Rowan is kind of passing out and stuff, and he's like, no, you gotta step your game up, essentially. And at first, Rowan's kind of, we don't really know we know she's gonna be okay, obviously, but we don't really know what's going on with her. But things I want to comment on real quick, not the incel stuff, not only do they handle it well, but it also modernizes the story. And I did see some kickback when I was saying, I like the way they're doing that, and they were like, well, that's not in the book. And I was like, yeah, but the themes of what this group believes in are, and like we always say over here, film and books are different mediums. So to make this group a antagonist on its own is a smart thing to do. And I think it's a good take, and it modernizes it. Things that I've really liked. The way that they have used color in this. The way they have stuck to earthly women, healing, long line of healers, plants, people with plant names, Cyprian, Rowan, the color green, that's normally safe, the rose petals with Deirdre, those are all a safe thing, Mother Nature, a maternal thing. I really like that theme coming through. I really like the way they're using it in costuming and the color and everything. That's awesome. But what I really liked was Rowan laying in the woods going, because she kind of goes like a baby Yoda level in this and can start to heal herself. And we all know, if you read fantasy stuff or are into that kind of thing, normally when the main character can start doing things like that, it's like, oh, we stepped our game up. Like, we can heal each other or heal ourselves. That's a big thing. So she realizes she can heal herself and steps her game up. But prior to that, she's laying on the forest floor like, there's no coincidences. Does everything happen for a reason? Now, that's a big, huge thing with Anne Rice, and I love it, and I love that they have this going on, but, like, her mom passing, her adoptive mother passing, her biological mom passing, all of these things happened to her getting pregnant. It's all part of the plan. It all happened. I loved that. But when we zoom into her mind, which we've been seeing throughout this, in the human brain, in the arteries, and things like that, but also tying it back to nature and making it like roots now, and she has all her writing on the wall because it leads to Suzanne's original house in Scotland with the writing on the walls is where we get to. And we keep hearing about this prophecy and how the 13th witch is the door, and we know she's the 13th witch. And the doorway, he just wants a human body form. And that's why I was like, oh no, what's about to go down? But before that, let's talk about this. Uncle Cortland, you total creep. Oh my God. We have him really obsessing over Rowan, okay? He's really freaking out, like, oh no, because they get the call from the family, right? And even his daughter, who I really like JoJo a lot, she's like, Dad, you got to tell me what's going on. And he won't tell her what's going on because we end up finding out some creep stuff. And if you don't want to hear about that creep stuff, trigger warning, because super creep stuff going on. Grossness. But we're not there yet. So we have Uncle Cortland not telling JoJo nothing. And then he goes running out the door to call sneaky Talamasca guy, okay? So now we're with Cyprian / Talamasca / Uncle Cortland story. And they're like, no, Cyprian, we're going to take you out. And he's like, no, I got to flip a switch here. I'm a part of that prophecy because I'm the father of her baby. So you know she's going to be pissed if she finds out you did something to me, this, that, and the other thing. But we find out all this information that the Talamascas really being sneak rats. They're working with Uncle Cortland. They set up Deirdre to be murdered, and Cortland was behind all that because it benefits him in the end, and he's getting something out of this prophecy. But the Talamasca's in on it. We found out that the boss is the wiper of the memories, and we're like, no, we all love Cyprian, protect this man, and he's the only one who's not being toxic, and I love him, and he looks like a nice man who you'd ask for directions, and I just like him. Found out all that. Deirdre, the mom, was murdered. We get all that stuff. We got it all. Oh, but the only reason we find out about the sneak rat stuff is because Cyprian goes to shake his hand, and so then he reads his mind and everything. Forgot about that, and it's in my notes. I almost said Michael Curry. If you read the books, you know. Send Cyprian to Uncle Cortland. Yada, yada, yada. So Cyprian's on his way over there. He got out of that little snare he was in for a minute. So we have Cyprian being babysat by the Talamasca, being taken to Uncle Cortland now, because Uncle Cortland called and was like, hey, my dude who set up this hit for me, because Uncle Cortland is the one who paid the hitman. He owned the hotel where Deirdre was killed. He planned all that. And, gross. So we have Cyprian getting taken to Uncle Cortland to see what he wants. And at first, Cyprian's touching everything. And it's just like kind of cuts to things like we hear in the books and things like that. Just like some deep cuts there. And I really liked that. I thought that was really cool because, like I've been saying, this can take the slot for The Walking Dead. This has history going back hundreds of years in the Vampire Chronicles, in this, and there's tons of stuff they could do. But here's where we knew it was getting bad, guys. And like I said, trigger warning. We have Uncle Cortland's creepy cat mask. From episode 1, Creepy Creep assaults Deirdre. Yeah, Uncle Cortland is the one who slept with Deirdre. Well, assaulted her. Yeah, tricked her into and that's why I was like, Rosemary's Baby. If you've seen Rosemary's Baby, you know what I'm talking about. Just swap it. It's one of the scariest scenes in anything. And, I mean, I was saying this with WandaVision when me and Mom first watched that. Even though Mom called it in the first episode, I can't believe I didn't realize that. All the way down to the Dick Van Dyke Show. At the end, you have to make a choice. Like, are you going to live with what it is and go with that because you're the mother and you're going to protect your baby either way? Or I don't know what. And like I said, if you've seen Rosemary's Baby, you know what I'm talking about. This was just like that. We find out that Uncle Cortland assaulted Deirdre back in the day, and she thought it was that boy at the party, and he set this whole thing up, and really, he's Rowan's father. And he set up this whole prophecy because he wants to get, he's sick, we know that, and that's what I was saying, there's something he wants out of them, and so he wanted to be, alive forever, immune, what am I looking for? He wanted to be immortal, and obviously Rowan takes that away very quickly, but I didn't know if he was going to get away with it or not. I was like, oh my God, but that was disturbing and gross and horrible. Cyprian gets this vision of Uncle Cortland offing that young boy Patrick and then assaulting Deirdre, and oh my God, he's horrible. And then JoJo, Cortland's daughter, is like, I know what a vision looks like. That's a vision. What did you see? And I really like JoJo. She's an awesome character. But we found out that Cortland's out for himself. Cortland's just out for himself, and he's going to use these women as much as he can to get whatever he wants. And I definitely think that they could have elaborated a bit more on like the resentment he probably feels by not having the same gifts they do. But hey, either way, we got to the end. Cyprian's telling Jojo, let me touch the bone doll, the Haitian doll that they have, and so he can get a vision. And that's when we get a vision of the full-blown prophecy. And it's all about the 13th witch and Rowan being the doorway. And now we know for sure Lasher wants a human body. But let's talk about the Rowan Lasher stuff, because this was really creepy. The way they like sped up the pregnancy was so creepy. I love the way they used clocks and watches throughout the series, but not making it too heavy-handed. And the moth. If you guys noticed, the moth was always when Rowan was going through a change. And at first I was like, the crows, like the way they were bringing those things back, I thought was very well done and wasn't heavy-handed. I like that very much. But now we have them in Suzanne's house, and Rowan's getting all these abilities. She can heal herself. Lasher's loving it. And then they're banging and everything. And her pregnancy's speeding forward. We realize she's kind of like trapped in a mind type thing, and it's pretty gruesome and scary and unnerving. But I'm assuming that Lasher needed the sleeping together and stuff to happen so that he could merge with this kid or this for him body. Like, that's all it really is for him. It's a means to an end. But yeah, so we have them getting real close. She's learning all these powers. He's loving it. They're banging, and then he dips out on her. Oh, but I totally left out what I was going to say about the clocks and everything. The way they were using that wasn't heavy-handed, and it was beautifully done. But the clocks, the first book is called The Witching Hour, and the prophecy has the witching hour and all that stuff. So I really liked the way, like I said, I like the way they imagery used clocks and watches on screen. But we also have the prophecy and the title of the first book. Even when Rowan starts going through the doorways and seeing all of the past witches and stuff, they end up showing a stopwatch. But the stopwatch can also symbol like fast forwarding, she's super pregnant, also a change, or it's going to stop, or there's a lot of symbolism that can go into certain things. Like I said, with the moths or butterflies, that means a character's normally going through a change. Think of Silence of the Lambs, half the things I learned from like movie quotes. But I did like Rowan going through all these doorways and seeing all these witches, and it's like the mother of my mother of my mother while you're going through this super fast pregnancy, and it's scary. And then she sees her own mom. And I'm a sucker for things like that. Deirdre's the one who's like, no, that's Lasher inside of you. And it's super creepy and super gross. And then it takes a whole shift in tone, and it's total Rosemary's Baby. Rowan knows what's going on. This is horrifying, scary, 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 creepy, 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 gross, gross, gross. On top of the gross family stuff we just figured out, on top of all the other things. Oh, Odette, Cyprian's awesome sister, the MVP, who me and Mom love. She's great every time she's on screen. She had her baby. And I really love, like I said, the symbolism of she's having a baby that she's giving up, and this and the other, along with this story. In the books, I'm not totally through The Witching Hour yet, but Rowan not wanting children is a big theme, and then Michael Curry going like, I wanted kids, but then we didn't have a kid, and I would never make a woman have a baby, that's gross. Like, that's a big theme, so I was wondering if they were going to hit on that, and then I'm like, oh man, you're going to piss people off, and I love it. I love it a lot, because you could be saying things here, and especially with Roe v. Wade being overturned, Michigan, I'm proud of you for going out and voting with me. Thank you. But Odette gets her mind wiped by the boss, the creepy boss. Yeah, they come. She gets mind wiped, but it was really sad when she's like, I'm just looking for him. And that was when she called him. But either way, we figured that out. And then I like that she didn't get hurt. Really gross part is when they're like, oh, bring her because we might need somebody to feed the baby, like a wet nurse. And I'm like, oh no, no, leave these women alone. But now we have super creep Uncle Cortland showing up and dragging Rowan's body to the mausoleum where the other mother witch's bones are, so the prophecy can become true. So he's dragging her lifeless body off because in the real world, she's still not 100%. She's on the ground in the woods, in the bayou, freaking probably getting eaten alive by bugs. You're lucky a snake didn't get you. Oh my god. See, everything in me is like, I really want to go to New Orleans. I want to go look at it. It's like awesome, but I'm like, don't they have scary things? Like, we don't have that up here. We don't have tornadoes or hurricanes or nothing, and we don't have bugs and snakes that can kill you. Like, the worst I'll see is a gardener snake. Is it a fox snake? What do we have to worry about, Michigan? Like, Midwest? I don't know. We don't have that shit. You gotta look out for like a brown recluse. That's a spider. But that's like a rare thing to run into. And then, like the only snakes I've ever ran into are gardener snakes. My mom claims that she caught a blue racer when she was a kid in Southwest Detroit, but I don't think that's accurate. They did have snakes, though. My grandma talks all about it. They had snakes. I really liked Rowan getting to the mausoleum and Suzanne being there because Suzanne's a midwife. And I really loved all of that part of it. That was cool. Now, you guys have to remember that Suzanne, who's helping her give birth to this baby, they're all pro Lasher. They're all like, let's get him out. Let's have him do this. He's owed this. Okay, so Rowan has the Lasher baby. And this was disturbing, was when it starts transforming, and I'm assuming it's because it's growing really fast. That was disturbing, and Rowan tries to ditch it, and then he's just like chasing his mom around, and you can tell she's like, it's a baby. It's just a baby. Because moms, dads too, parents in general are just that's an amazing thing to me. Like, it really is. Like, all of a sudden, this whole other thing in the world anchors you to it, and that's a whole other love that you don't want to mess with. So I'm like, I like the mother thing. And like I said, Rosemary's Baby, you got to make a choice. Then we have creepy Uncle Cortland showing up. He tries to take Lasher Baby. He's like, I did it. I'm the best. Yada, yada, yada. And then Rowan goes into protective mom mode. And that's what I mean here. Like, I think that's amazing when it's like, no, I gave birth 2 minutes ago, and I know this baby is kind of a devil baby, but it's still a baby, and it's my baby, and I'm going to protect him. And I loved this even more. I loved this even more, was having the Medusa kill, turning him to stone like that. Love it. Because any story of Medusa, they can be changed up, but there's a few that are like, no, this was totally about, like, women being harmed. So I like that take on it. That was really cool. But he steps to Rowan. Rowan's like, no, tries to give him an aneurysm. It doesn't work. And he's like, I'm the best. I'm immortal. I'm the greatest. And then Rowan's like, nope, hit you with another one. And that's when he gets Medusa and turned to stone. But when she turns, she's like, it's because you killed my mother and all that. I loved it. I like Rowan. I love her. So we have Rowan taking out Cortland. Then Rowan leaving the mausoleum. Now, my mom and I were just talking about this when we watched Wakanda Forever, and then Mandalorian, episode 1. That's awesome. Whenever there's, like, water, and it's like even when it's not a baptism, quote unquote, like the Mandalorian, very much so, that's an initiation. It's very much like a baptism into a group, you know what I'm saying? But anytime you have, and especially like in Wakanda Forever and things like that, and this, when we have water pouring all over a character or a place, that normally means this is a type of rebirth or a new start. It washes away original sin or whatever came before it. So this is like the rebirth of a person, a place, whatever. Normally when there's rain falling, like think of The Lion King. Remember when the rain all falls, when Simba's coming up to the end of Pride Rock? It's like the start of a new thing. It's a restart. It's a rebirth into this new thing. So I really liked the way they used that, because now we have Rowan at this whole other level of power and stuff. But not just that. We have her stepping up to Cyprian. Cyprian's kind of being sneaky, which I was like, he wasn't being sneaky. He was being honest with her. But she was like, no, I don't need nothing. I don't need none of you. I can do this all on my own type deal. And then when he tries to be like, listen, she sends a lightning bolt down at him. And I was like, oh, there's the fire. So we had the water and the fire a little bit. And I thought that was really cool. Not just that, lightning is a real big symbol of, I'm a god now. Is that a good way to put it? Like, I'm a god. I can control lightning, like Thor or Zeus, you know, like, but normally when a character starts wielding lightning, besides like Avatar: The Last Airbender, because that's more of like a thing, but besides that, that's the only other one I could think of right now, and I'm like, no, normally when a character can start whipping lightning or the elements around like that, it's like, nah, F you, I've got way more power than you thought. So I really, really liked that. I really, really enjoyed that. I really did, and I really think that the last 2 or 3 episodes of this really hit the landing and were hitting hard, and I was like, man, why weren't you doing this the whole season? But I really like MAYFAIR Witches. I still like Interview with the Vampire more, but I really like this, and I really like the Anne Rice-averse right now, guys, and I think this is the best stuff on TV. But yeah, let's talk about who won, because it was, Manhattan Mike won. Manhattan Mike won, and he's been an awesome subscriber for so long, and I was like, oh my god, and I finally did it right, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's been a weird, hard week. I'm a dum-dum, but yeah. Either way, what is that? Either way, we're back now. We're back on track. Mandalorian, all this stuff. Me and Mom just rewatched Loki. That's the best. But yeah, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Make sure you comment, subscribe, share. It really helps me out a lot. We're on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all that stuff. And yeah, if I go dark on any of those, it's probably because my ex-job won't stop messing with me.